first controversy was Rust. Second controversy was doing this with AI.
Mm.
So when I guess where do we start from here? Like, where do you want to go from here? Because you did the porting with AI, and do we now have a vibe coded browser? Is everything ruined? Is this just security nightmare, impossible to use? Where are we?
I guess I don't know. It depends on where you draw the line for vibe coding, I suppose. I've been using AI to assist in programming since 2022, I think.
Okay, pretty early on.
Yeah, like a GitHub Copilot I got when that was relatively newish, and before that I was using ChatGPT for stuff. So myself and many people on the team have been like fairly aggressive users of AI to help out in programming for many years already. So this was not like suddenly we decide to use AI. Like
Right.
we've been using it for years.
So you kind of
Um,
knew the
it-
capabilities it already had.
yes, exactly, and didn't have
Mhm.
until just recently when I would say they made a very serious leap in capabilities over the last 3 months or so. And yeah, obviously some people feel strongly about this. And it's funny, like when we announced this, when I announced this Rust JavaScript thing, then like people either got mad about the Rust thing or they got mad about the AI, but like everybody found something to be mad about.
Yeah, that was fun.
That
I
was good.
enjoyed that.
Yeah, I enjoy that too. It's funny when you find something that makes everyone upset. Uh, but but anyway, so it wasn't like a new thing to anybody on the team. Like we've already been using AI, most of us, in various capacities for a long time.
Mhm.
Um, but this was the biggest project where we sort of, I guess I felt like it would be silly to say I did this
Right.
in 2 weeks. Whereas if I've been like using it to assist me, then it was still me doing it, I felt like. But here it seemed important to call out, no, it wasn't just me. I had help here.
Mhm.
Um, and I think it also felt important to talk about it because I want people to understand that these tools are becoming more capable and they can now assist with this kind of stuff, and that it changes the assumptions that we've had for a long time about the cost and feasibility of language translations. Because we, as we talked about, like we wanted to do a translation to Swift of parts of the code base, and that always, in my mind, and I guess in everyone's mind, just seemed like this gigantic undertaking
Mhm.
that would cost us, weeks or months of time to do various little things once we got that going. Um, Whereas this Rust port of our JavaScript pipeline was like something I could do while working on other stuff, like just doing it in the background sort of over the course of 2 weeks, which was, I don't know, amazing to me that this is possible. Um, but I think people, I've noticed with people who are upset about this kind of thing that many of them have, let's say, an outdated mental model of what AI assisted programming is like.
Mm.
People who have, tried asking ChatGPT to generate a game, or they tried this like autocomplete AI that were popular some years ago. And I think it would be very healthy for a lot of people to go and play with these agentic coding things a little bit and try to make some silly little apps or something, make a little, I don't know, Space Invaders game, like just to doodle around and build intuition about what this is and what it can do.
Mm.
Because it's like I keep having this conversation with people that it's a little bit tiresome where they just it becomes clear that they haven't tried this stuff for themselves, and they're just kind of regurgitating the same thing you've heard a million times.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think there's also a distinction with what you're trying to get out of programming, right? If you're the kind of like what's a good sort of metaphor? Like, I guess building. Actually, here's a good one. Building a table, a chair, using like only hand tools, as opposed to using like like electrite saws and drills and other things. Like it's going to be considerably easier to do it if you use a bandsaw to cut the wood rather than actually cutting it with a handsaw, right? But both of these are approaches to doing the same thing, and in the same way with AI and programming here. Sorry, it's 1 a.m. here. It's 1:30 a.m. If I jump around a little bit, that's going to be why. When we're talking about programming, a lot of people enjoy purely the act of programming. This sort of, for some people, it's this artistic experience, more not just an engineering experience, right? I think that's where I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, and I can relate to that a little bit. Like, I mean, I've been doing this my whole life since I was a kid. Some of my earliest memories is like typing basic programs into a IBM or Toshiba laptop in the late 80s. And it was enjoyable, and it remains enjoyable to me to do these things, but it also feels a bit like ultimately carpentry, like what you talk about, became an artisanal craft. It sort of there was at some point it bifurcated or whatever you say, like into like artisanal carpentry and
an IKEA table,
furniture production. Let's say.
Exactly. Yeah.
And when the artisanal crafted thing is like visibly better, then I think then there's a clear argument for that. And I think AI assisted programming has been like kind of obviously worse up until now. And I feel that the quality gap between what I would produce, at least if I'm honest about my own abilities and my own sort of tendency for programming quality, the gap between what I would produce and what an agent can produce has shrunk to the point where I really feel like I can be more efficient at what I want to achieve by directing the agent and then going over the stuff it produces and cleaning that up and so on. And it brings me towards my goals sooner, and then I get to do my other goals sooner, which is more fun for me. But if my goal would be to sit and type the keys and like watch the program appear character by character, I would probably be sad about that. Yeah. But I'm trying to build a browser, so it's yeah. I guess it is probably a very different experience depending on, as you say, sort of what your goals are, what you're trying to get out of programming. Yeah.
So, what was the, I guess, process you took to actually do this porting? And if you're willing to say, how much did it cost?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I think I used a Claude and Codex. So the OpenAI and the Anthropic offerings, and I have like these maxed out accounts. So it cost less than $500, I think, because it took about 2 weeks. And yeah. And the process was to basically make a little plan that we're going to try to port. Just started with a little part. Started with just a lexer, which would like loop over the JavaScript source code and create tokens. So like this is a slash, this is a string, this is a number, whatever. So I just did that first, and then plugged that into the existing C++ things. And then I once that just worked, then I thought, hey, okay, well, what if the next step in the pipeline would also be Rust? And then I made a parser. So the lexer creates tokens, goes into the parser. Parser turns them into an abstract syntax tree. And that was initially C++. And then I thought, okay, well, this works now. I can create the C++ syntax tree. Why don't I port the syntax tree to Rust, and then it's sort of just iteratively going through the pipeline like that, porting one piece at a time, having it seamlessly integrate with the existing code. And that's kind of how I built the whole thing until I reached the end of the pipeline, which is where we generate the code that eventually gets executed by our virtual machine. And then the virtual machine remains in C++. But all the way from source code from JavaScript source code to bytecode programs is now in Rust. And it was an incremental process like that. And I just kept adding more and more tests along the way as I discovered things that were sort of not covered by our tests. And I had I think there were probably like more than 1,000 prompts that went into this. So it wasn't like one big master prompt that
it's just like convert everything.
Port.
Make
no mistakes, right? Yeah.
Write good code, make no mistakes. Okay. Yeah.
Exactly. No, so it was a continuous like feedback loop type process where I was just monitoring and babysitting. And I think that's still required. There are these people who hype up these tools and they say, oh, you can just like give it some good instruction and come back in a week and it will do great things.
Right. There was the who was it? Was it Google that did the let the agentic system go and just build a browser? Who was that did that recently?
Oh, I think that was Cursor. The Cursor,
might be Cursor, yeah.
folks, right? Right. So that thing banged out, like, I don't know, 2 million lines of code or something.
For the record, just so we're clear, that code didn't actually compile. They had to make some changes.
Maybe it didn't
after the fact.
compile, and it made heavy use of like Servo. I think like the the browser engine. But for some definition of browser, it was one, I suppose.
Once it compiled, it was close to a browser.
Yeah. And my feeling about all of those sort of showcases is that they're just kind of I don't know, barking up the wrong tree a little bit with unsupervised agentic programming. I think that's not where I'm interested in going. I don't want to tell my agent to do something and then leave it alone. I like to be part of the process because as we talked about earlier, like I love programming. I enjoy it. I just I also enjoy doing it in a different way where I don't have to be like caring about every little detail, like every little piece of punctuation, remembering every semicolon, that kind of stuff. But just getting hoisted up the abstraction stack. I don't know if I would say one level. I feel like we've been hoisted multiple levels here in one go, and it's a little jarring, a little shell-shocked, perhaps. But even so, I still very much enjoy it. And I think the results that you get from supervised agentic programming are night and day with this, I suppose, what is fundamentally slop that you get if you just ask it to do something and leave it to its own devices. So there was also a C compiler. I think somebody did. I forget who that was. Was that an Anthropic, maybe? But yeah.
Yes.
What I would love to see is like, what happens if they just put this thing in the hands of an expert and have the expert guide it to do something actively, sort of. And I think I am not an expert at many things, but I feel like I'm an expert at our JavaScript engine, at least because I wrote much of it. So in this case, I had a very good experience sort of being the expert guiding the agent to do this translation to Rust. And the quality metrics that we had, or that I had to work with, were very, very helpful. So we have a ton of tests. There's an official JavaScript correctness test suite that the working group that makes the language, they also maintain a test suite for the language. It has like 50,000 plus tests. And then we have our own tests as well that we've accumulated over the years of building Ladybird, like another, I don't know, 10,000 plus tests. And so it was like it was very easy to validate that this thing has a reasonable chance of being correct by like throwing all of these tests at it every step of the way. And then I also built this mode where it runs both the C++ compiler and the JavaScript and the Rust compiler, um, and then compares the results. And then if there's any difference in the result, it will just stop and say, hey, wait a minute. The Rust version does not do exactly what the C++ version did. And then I had to like make it do exactly the same thing. So a bunch of like one criticism that you might hear for a project like this is that, well, you're just overfitting on the tests that you have, right? So
Right, yeah.
it's
I've
just
heard
gonna
arguments like, oh, AI is in some cases will hard code stuff or do things in a
Yeah.
way that the test will pass, but is that generally applicable, or is it applicable to the test?
Yeah. So I think in our case, we have enough tests that strategy becomes like not viable for the AI to to get out of having to implement stuff, because everything is tested from like multiple angles and stuff. So if you were to hard code something, there's another test that will catch you. And then we also have this beautiful thing called the World Wide Web, where we can just go and people will throw just insane amounts of JavaScript at you and say, hey, this is an ad for something, or maybe it's a tracking cookie. I just want to know what you are doing so I can send you an ad later. That's about 2 megabytes of JavaScript, whatever. Please run. And browsers do this all the time, and it was very easy to test the correctness of this thing by just running all that stuff, all that lovely JavaScript, and verifying that it's identical between the C++ and Rust versions. So that gave me a huge amount of confidence that it's correct because the results were identical.